guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Shaki and today I'm going to be going through my February TBR. No, I'm not. It's a wrap up. February wrap up. Can you tell that I'm just shocked that we're at the end of February already? In the month of February, I managed to get read 8 whole books. I did it for a second month in a row. And I'm so proud of myself. So my February TBR was split into 3 categories, which were Black History Month reads, so basically books with black main characters or written by black people, Valentine stuff, so romance novels, and the third one was just some books off yearly TBR so that I could read some of the ones that I definitely need to get to in 2019. The first one that I got to in February was part of Black History Month, and that is Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Rennie Edo-Lodge. I am white. I cannot give you an in-depth review of most of the books that I read for Black History Month because I am not black, but I unapologetically absolutely loved this book. This book is basically written by Rennie Edo-Lodge, who had this whole thing blow up of a blog post where she talks about why I'm no longer talking to white people about race, so she decided to make an entire book about it. This is basically just in like a dissertation form with like a bibliography describing the black struggle in different sections entitled History, the System, What is White Privilege, Fear of a Black Planet, The Feminism Question, Race and Class, and There's No Justice, There's Just Us. This edition has something called The Aftermath at the end, which is basically just the aftermath of the book coming out, what people's experiences of reading it in public have been, and I found that part extremely interesting. The other part that I found extremely interesting, I mean it all was interesting, hence why I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, but I found the particular part about feminism to be very interesting. I could critique myself in everything of this book, but particularly in aspects of feminism which I'm very interested in as a whole, but black feminism is something that I am not rusty on because I learned a lot about it in sociology, but my knowledge is limited still and I could use a lot more critiquing, so that was particularly interesting to me. As I said, I did study sociology, so I did know a lot of the history of this because I've used it in exams before, but it was really nice to check my white privilege in places that I haven't ever thought of before, although on the whole I did know most of the information that was used. But I'm so glad that this exists, and I'm so just in awe of the writing and how well it flowed and how just well put together it was. It really just bashes black stereotypes of people being illiterate, etc, etc, and Rennie Edo-Lodge really did something with this book. I'm really happy that this exists for black voices because some people can't speak for themselves. Also, I'm absolutely in love with this cover because it's just amazing. I love this book. 5 out of 5 stars. The next book is just a book on my regular 2019 TBR, and that is City of Fallen Angels by Cassandra Clare, which is the 4th, technically 5th book in the Shadowhunter Chronicles. So of course I can't really say a lot what this book is specifically about because it's spoilers for the rest of the series, but Shadowhunters and the Mortal Instruments and everything like that is basically about these Shadowhunters who are literally there to protect mundanes from demons. Clary, who is said to be a mundane, meets someone called Jace, and she's the only one at the party who can see them. Not even her best friend Simon can see him, and she basically just learns how she's a Shadowhunter, tries to get her little nose into the world and meets loads of new people, and these books are just amazing and phenomenal, and I would let Cassie Clare punch me in the face. A lot of people on Goodreads said that this book had a lot of middle book syndrome, but I could not agree, but I could not disagree more. I love this a lot more than I expected to. I am kind of sick of Jace's like daddy issues and that him using that as an excuse to treat Clary like shit. Other than that, as always, I found this world so captivating and interesting. The fact that we get to know more about Simon, Clary's best friend, is a lot more just refreshing and something new to the story while also being pissed off at Jace and Clary's relationship. Nothing really changes there, and I'm not really expecting it to. Simon's kind of view on things and the history of vampires was really interesting. His POV was a lot less serious. I found that Clary's point of view can drag sometimes, but Simon's was really funny, really lighthearted, and I loved the way that he thought about things, and his whole situation with Isabel and Maya, I just loved it. It was something new to read. For those reasons, I rated City of Fallen Angels a 4 stars out of 5. Next is the first of 2 of my DNFs in February. Yeah, we're getting ruthless this year, and that is A Walk to Remember by Nicholas Sparks, which obviously is in honour of Valentine's Day. This is set in 1958 surrounding our main character Landon. He meets a girl called Jamie who is worlds apart from him, and Jamie reads the Bible, she's a good girl, and she gets picked on a lot at school, but she doesn't care because she's got God and she's got all the things that she's doing outside of school, like helping with a freaking orphanage. Landon and Jamie are forced to partner up to fulfill a play for that year because he's ill. They're forced to partner up, they're forced to get to know each other, work on this play and work on other things as well, but I wouldn't know that because I DNF. I DNF is at page 93 and the book really isn't that long, so I probably realistically in hindsight could have stuck it out and see where it went, but I just didn't want to. I found myself feeling so sorry for Jamie and she just deserves so much more, and I feel like Nicholas's sparked portrayal of Jamie and other women in this book was very misogynistic and I didn't like that at all. Of course it is set in 1958 and people are going to say it's the time. I still couldn't be annoyed at it and not want to read something that's set in 1958. I also feel like Landon as a main character was so critical and I just hate people who are unstable. I just don't really like how he was abusive to Jamie, and this was supposed to be a haters to lovers kind of thing, but it was more of abuse to lovers kind of thing, which we'll come back to in another read for this month. But of course I gave it a 1 star because I did DNF. Next is another read for Black History Month, but also could be for Valentine's Day, and that is Odd One Out by Nick Stone, which is Nick Stone's latest novel since her first one, Dear Martin. I actually have a full spoiler-free review on this up on my channel, so I'll link it in the I bar and down below. So I won't be giving too much of my thoughts, I'm going to leave it to that video to kind of speak for itself. But I did give us a 3 stars in the end. I think in the video I say a 3.5, but I have lowered it to a 3 star. But before that, let's get into the actual plot of this. So this is about 3 teens who are all of colour and they are all kind of bisexual. This is basically split into 3 perspectives, but they aren't like alternating perspectives, they are literally chunks. So our first character, Courtney, cis straight black male. He keeps getting dumped over and over again by girls because he just can't hack relationships, and he says that relationships just aren't for him. And then our second point of view is from Ray, who is a bisexual Korean American girl. She's the new girl, but she has a lot of secrets going up in her mind. Her and the next character, Jupiter, have been talking online for a lot, and she comes and moves into the neighborhood. And third and finally, our next little block perspective is from Jupiter, who has been Courtney's best friend for as long as they can remember. She is a Latina lesbian girl who is really having a time, and that's what I'm going to say about that. My review will say this better than I ever could in this video, because I think I filmed it literally like a day after I finished it. But I had a lot of problems going into this book. I didn't realise it was going to be so biphobic because people have described it to me as a bisexual love triangle, but that isn't the case at all. I also didn't really connect with any of the characters. Courtney was a little bit of a dick, Ray was really stuck up, and Jupiter was just biphobic and didn't really stand up for anyone on the LGBTQ spectrum when she is in the community. I honestly feel like this would have worked more as a new adult novel rather than a young adult novel, because like some of the language is so off. I think I give specific examples in my review, but there's references to tingling, special places, and I couldn't. I feel like it would have worked more as a new adult novel rather than a young adult novel. I think it could have been really good in like a college era with like people questioning themselves and getting all mixed up. I just didn't think this was accurate at all. I'm glad that the subject of questioning was approached by Nick Stone. I just feel like the execution of this was a little bit bad. Questioning makes a character really just an asshole, treat people without respect like they normally would, and I don't feel like questioning alone makes people into horrible people. That's a really bad message to send, especially from a queer author. Also, I feel like Nick Stone just isn't the author for me at times because her style is very different to everyone else's. She switches between perspectives and she switches between person point of views, so she'll go from first person to like third person to second person. It's very confusing. She also writes in a confusing way of not being able to decide whether she wants to be a script or a novel. I would have been fine reading a script because I study film and I read scripts a lot of the time, but the fact that it's book and script made me kind of be put off by it, and I also found the same with her other novel, Dear Martin. So I don't think her writing style is for me, but pick us up anyway if you're bisexual. I want to know what you think. Be sure to go and see my full review. I'll link it below and above, as I said, but this got a 3 stars from me. The next book is for Valentine's Day. We're going back to Valentine's Day lovey-dovey stuff now, and that is Always and Forever Lara Jean by Jenny Han, which is the 3rd and final book in the To All the Boys I've Loved Before trilogy. I freaking love this book and gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. So obviously I can't really tell you a lot about this book because it's the 3rd one in the series and it will spoil the rest of them for you, but basically To All the Boys I've Loved Before is about this girl called Lara Jean who's never been in a relationship before. She's always just had crushes. She's never acted on these crushes or anything like that. Everyone thinks she's this innocent girl who never gets any crushes, but that couldn't be more wrong. So basically when Lara Jean has a crush, she will get through that crush or them feelings by writing the certain person a love letter, putting it in an envelope and putting it in her hat box. She feels safe and secure with this method of getting rid of her crushes and like laying low in high school until her letters get sent out. 2 of the letter recipients become very big characters in the story. Josh, who is Lara Jean's big sister's ex-boyfriend, that's so fucking confusing. Josh gets a letter and he's confronting Lara Jean, and also Peter Kavinsky, who is like the jock of the school, also gets a letter that she wrote years and years and years ago. So her and Peter form this fake relationship to deter Josh from finding out Lara Jean's true feelings that she used to have about Josh before her sister dated him, and Peter is using it to make his ex-girlfriend Genevieve jealous by being with Lara Jean. This trilogy, you would have thought I would hate it, but I absolutely love it. I love this trilogy with all of my being. I gave it 5 stars and it was just perfection. I think the reason why I thought this was the best book of the trilogy, a lot of people do not have the same opinion, because Lara Jean in this book, not to give any spoilers, but she's dealing a lot with university and having a boyfriend and going to university. I'm in the same boat and I really was starting to feel insecure about going to university with a boyfriend. I just felt like I saw myself in Lara Jean in that moment. I just clicked with her on an emotional level and I enjoyed this so much. Although I do feel like a 5 stars as a whole is a bit generous, and I may end up dropping it to a 4 or 4.5 because I feel like the plot line was very much rushed to the end. I cried so hard, I connected with it on an emotional level, so I thought I'd give it a 5 stars because I'm feeling nice, and why the hell not. The next book is one that was just on my yearly TBR, and it is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I actually have a reading vlog of me reading this for the first time up on my channel right now, so I'll link it below. Above and below. I gave this in the end a 3.5 stars out of 5 because I just don't think that Faye is for me. This is all about Jude and her sisters, and one of her sisters, her bigger sister, is a fairy. In comparison, Jude and her twin sister just are humans. They're not anything special to do with Faye, and everybody basically hates them. They were brought into this world because their parents were brutally murdered and they have to kind of live without her and also live in a kingdom where everyone hates them. Skip past a few years since their parents' murder, there is a new crowning of the king with all of the brothers that are currently in line. It's getting quite competitive. One of the princes in the running for the crown contacts Jude to be a secret spy on all of the rest of them, and she's kind of like faking being a part of the court, and she's gone on this little spy mission to see what's what, who's corrupt, and what their game plan is. I don't like Faye, and it was such a mistake of me going into this. I'm not going to say much of my thoughts because they will be in the vlog, which I'll link down below and wherever. So if you want to go and watch actually my thoughts unfolding and blossoming, you can go and do that. I also didn't like the relationship that was blossoming between Prince Cardan and Jude. I feel like they were just, it was too much. I can take a hate to lovers romance trope, like in A Walk to Remember, but I can't take abuse to lovers trope. He hates her. I also feel like there was way too much going on, but not enough going on at the same time. And I also feel like there was way too many characters to keep up with. They were literally introduced in like a sentence all at the same time, and then you were expected to remember all of them. It was a little bit too much, and I feel like Fae fantasy really is not for me in that respect, which is my fault, not Holly Black's. But no shit on you if you like this. I just feel like it suffered a bit from overhype for me, but it could be the Fae book for you, so go ahead and try it. The next book is my second and final DNF of February, and that is, unfortunately, Soulmates by Holly Ball. I honestly can't remember this person's name, the main character, and I tried to search for it a minute ago, but I just could not find it. But this is basically about a girl who is so edgy that she doesn't believe in soulmates, and she's so different from every other girl. But like 20 pages into the book, she falls in love within 5 seconds and everything changes for her. She's not like other girls because she's edgy. And what is love? I don't believe in love. It's just a chemical reaction. Oh wait, I'm falling in love right now. And then there's like a different storyline going on with this laboratory and people like flashing machines. You don't really know what's going on because I DNF'd it so early on in the book. I didn't really get to see this develop, and maybe I would have liked it more if so, but I really doubt it. I just hate the fact that there was this stupid, pointless band called Growing Pains and this girl who's not like other girls because she doesn't like love and she's edgy. Other girls are sluts and have chlamydia. Date me instead. I didn't like it. I'm sorry. I love Holly so much, but this wasn't it. It was her debut novel and I just feel like it was very badly done. It is almost 600 chonkers of a page long, and I can't read that. I can't sit there and read something that I'm not fully invested in for that long of a time. I just didn't care. I just didn't care enough. I hated the main character. I hated her love interest. I hated everybody else. This was just a no, and I feel really bad about it, but at the same time, I don't, not really. And the last book that I managed to get round to in February was On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. This was another one for Black History Month. I forgot to say, but Soulmates is obviously one for Valentine's Day. Something Halloween, no. For Valentine's Day. As I said towards the beginning, I am a white woman. I've never experienced racism. I'm never going to, so I can't really give a full proper in-depth review of this book, but I can say that I really did enjoy it. It was really good testimony to Angie Thomas. If you're living under a rock, you probably don't know what The Hate U Give is. So Angie Thomas has now written 2 novels about black teens in America going through injustice. So the first one was Thug, which followed Star, and one of her best friends was shot. This one is set in the same neighborhood but following a different girl called Bree. She's still black and she's a rapper, and she really wants to make it in the world. She goes to these things called The Ring, where they rap battle, and she finds some really like fishy, untrustworthy, sketchy people to do with the music industry that try and form her into something that she's not. This book is very complex in that sense, and it deals with race in a different way than Thug, which I really enjoyed. It looked at it more in the way of career and what it means to be black and gay, or black and a female, which it touched upon, which I really liked that. I do feel like the rapping on paper and me reading it physically didn't have the same effect as it would me actually hearing it, so I just kind of feel like it didn't have as big of an impact on me, but it didn't really affect my reading experience. I kind of just was like reading the rap instead of having it to me, but I'm really excited for Angie Thomas to rap it to me. I gave this a 3.75, and although I did really enjoy it, it was a little bit behind Thug, and I did enjoy Thug more. I don't mean to like compare or anything like that, but you know, you really can't help it. It's by the same author, set in the same neighborhood. The only reason why this kind of got a lower rating than Thug is because the ending for me really fell flat, and it kind of just goes in a big circle, which was a good move. It was like a kind of a sentimental move, and I would have really liked to have seen her really taking off towards the end, although I did like the fact that she got a chance to stand up for herself and her image as a black woman in rap towards the end against these sketchy people that were trying to mould her into something else. I also really liked the way that Bree was written, in the fact that every time she heard a certain word, it would like come up with the words that rhymed with it, and like where it would fit itself into a verse with other words that she's heard, and they all came together at the end. It was just really nicely done, and I really enjoyed my time reading in Bree's experience. I really enjoyed this, despite the ending kind of flopping and being anticlimactic for me, in my personal opinion. I'm really glad that teens have this again to read, to look up to. So those were all of the books that I read in February. I really hate filming wrap-ups. I don't know how else to do them. So those are the 8 books and my opinions on them that I read in February. If you like this video, please don't mash a thumbs up and subscribe. I make videos on this channel every Tuesday for bookish content. I also have a bookstagram, which is the same handle as my channel name, Looking for Shaki, so go ahead and follow me over there. I'll leave all of the videos that I referenced, the review and the reading vlog of The Cruel Prince, which will be down below, and I will see you next week for a brand new video. Bye!
You've got a face for a smile, you know. A shame you're wasted when you're breaking me slowly, but I've got a world of chances.